Guys, let's take a look at what we've got up here. Number 1, slope and y-intercept were already there. It doesn't matter which side they're on, the left or the right. As long as y is by itself, I can pick out m and b. So we should have m equals 4 and b equals -7. For number 2, I have to solve for y, and so you have to go through and you're going to have to undo that subtraction. So you add 8x to each side, and then I have to go through and divide. 8 divided by 9 is 8/9. Keep it as a fraction so that you have rise and run. And then -3 divided by 9 was -1/3. So my slope was 8/9. My y-intercept was -1/3. For number 3, I have to solve for y. It'd be really nice if I could just solve for x, right, guys? But I have to get y by itself. So I add x to each side. I go through and divide by 2. Remember that this is a 1 here, guys. So 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Here you simply have to divide everything by 4, and 2 divided by 4 is the 1/2. 16 divided by 4 is 4. I'm only looking at the slopes, so yes, because they both have m values of 1/2. All right? Guys, that's the stuff we start with. We start with being able to identify m and b. What we want you to be able to do now is actually make graphs with those. So this is a big part of what you're working with today is just finding m and b. The next part is actually taking the graphs. So you want to rewrite the equation in function form. Just like we said before, solve for y. Then what you're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is you're going to plot that y-intercept. That's your starting point. So think back to the toothpick problem. You had to have that one toothpick before you could start adding 3 on. So you have to start with your b value. This is always your starting point. And keep in mind, we call that the y-axis because that was the toothpick you had to start with, guys. So going back to that toothpick problem, guys, you had to start with one toothpick. Put that on the y-axis. Then you count your slope from the b value. Okay? You start from that one toothpick. You don't start back at 0. You start at one toothpick and then add on. And I want you guys to get at least 2 more points. Okay? We'd like to have neat graphs. The more points you have, the neater they are. So if you don't have access to a ruler, you need to have a lot of points. And then you're connecting your points. We're making continuous graphs. And then make sure the direction of your line matches the slope. So positive slope should be increasing when you look at your graph. Negative slope should be decreasing. So ladies and gentlemen, all these little notes I write here, you guys should be putting those in the margins if you're not already doing that. Now some of you are good at graphing, so we don't need to worry about that. But those of you who are feeling a little bit anxious, all of these little things I put in here should be showing up in that margin. All right, I'm going to go to a split screen, and we'll take a look at graphing. All right, so I went to graph the first one, y equals 2x plus 3. Awesome, y is by itself, so I don't have to do any solving. I'm going to start at my b value. So I'm going to start at positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. It then said to count my slope, so I have a slope of 2. How do I get that 2 as a fraction so that I have rise and run? Kenny?
2.
All right, so Mark, now that I know it's 2 over 1, how am I going to do rise and run? Beautiful. Up 2 over 1. Guys, I have some juniors that are still struggling with that. And what I try to do to help them is read that fraction as 2 over 1. We often read fractions that way. 1/3 is 1 over 3. 4/3 would be 4 over 3. If you read this as 2 over 1, you automatically say that 1 is your over move. So then I'm going to go up 2 over 1 again. I'm not very neat on the smartboard, guys, so I'm going to keep making points. I want to be neat here, so that means I'm going to go down 2, but to line up, I'm going to have to go back 1. I've got to do 2 negative moves to keep it positive, and you guys kind of did that on your chart with the toothpick activity. So there we have it. How many people end up with a line that looks very, very similar to mine? Okay, it better look exactly like mine. Kira, is y by itself for b?
No.
No, so what would you do first to get y by itself?
Okay.
I'm going to subtract the x to cancel it out. Be careful here. We kind of want to ignore the minus behind it, and if it's a positive x, then subtract it. Alright, let's try this. Guys, sorry, this is not wanting to cooperate for me over here. So let's just start typing. So I'd have negative 5y is equal to, was it 10 minus x? Is that what I had there? All right. So I have 10 minus x. What are we going to do next here, guys? Divide by negative 5. Let's see if I can start writing now. So if I divide by negative 5, this cancels. I get y is equal to negative 2. What's this going to be? What's this negative x divided by negative 5 going to be?
It's going to be a positive 5.
Positive. Is it going to be 5x or 1/5 x?
1/5.
1/5 x, guys. Put the ones in front of your x if you can. So I should have plus 1/5 x. Cheyenne, where am I going to start my graph at? Good job, guys. It doesn't matter what comes first or second. The b value is always the constant. So start at negative 2. It's a positive slope, so I'm going to count up 1 over 5. Up 1 over 5. That kind of makes my entire right-hand side. So now I'm going to go down 1, and I'm going to go back 5. Like, board isn't that good. And I'm going to go down 1 and back 5. And then we can draw in our line. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to try the on your own. You're obviously going to have to solve for y. When you're done with that, guys, you're going to do page 244. You can write that in the assignment line once you've raised your hand and have checked your graph. Numbers 15 through 51 multiples of 3, which means you're going to skip every other problem.